Hello again and welcome to ManchTalk. I'm Tammy Simmons and I'm your solo host with a special guest today because Carla had to go to another state, family stuff, how those things happen. But joining me is Brittany Ping, who one hat is you're the chair of the Manchester Republican Committee,
Correct.
So she's my
Successor?
Thank you. And you're also running for state rep in Ward 11.
Correct.
So good for you.
Thanks.
My West Side compadre. Life. Cold out there. Me and Carla always talk about the weather. It's freaking cold.
It's freezing.
It's like ridiculous. One day I'm wearing, got the air conditioner on. The next day my toes are going to fall off. And I refuse to put shoes on because
they're the worst.
I refuse to put shoes on. So I had a couple things I wanted to talk about today. One of them just boggled my mind last week. I had a friend who I used to work with, who used to live in Manchester, who doesn't even live in Manchester anymore, ping me and say, do you know who I should talk to with this problem? And of course, everybody thinks I know everything, so they know who you know who? Tammy will know who to tell you to talk to. So I asked her a bunch of questions because I didn't want to get involved in something that wasn't correct. But she got a letter in August 17th of this year, indicating I'm going to take my glasses off, so I'm going to have to do them without them. Your motor vehicles bearing the registration listed below has unpaid parking violations. It was from a parking ticket from October 22nd, 2010. And I thought, what? That can't. And she wrote back to them and said, I didn't have a parking ticket. If I had a parking ticket, I would have paid for it.
10 years ago.
And can you show me this parking ticket or anything? Because this is 10 years ago. She's registered her vehicle numerous times since then. She no longer even lives in Manchester. And they wrote back just recently saying that they reviewed it. And no, it's real. And now they would like you to pay $24. And at first I thought, this has got to be a spam. This can't be real. No, it's real. It's got the city's website. Of course, you can have a judicial review in the like you're going to take time out of your day,
right, for
in your life for $24. But why would the city be sending notices about unpaid parking tickets from 10 years ago now? So I contacted one of the aldermen and said, could you please help this person? Because it was out of principle. It wasn't the $24. It's the fact that if I had a ticket in 2010, you need to tell me sometime like maybe near 2010. The person at, I don't want to use names, but the person at the ordinance violations department, or someone, said they changed the citation to a warning so it wouldn't show up on her account anymore. That they had spoken to ordinance and they're working together to most likely stop sending letters to very aged citations. So this is what's wrong with government. First of all, if there were parking tickets from 2010, why weren't you collecting them in 2010? And even if you didn't collect them in 2010, why the hell are you trying to collect them now? Because one, I bet there's more manpower being used and postage to collect $24 that you're not going to collect from 10 years ago. And when can local government and state government and all the government just stop acting like they're a business where they're selling something like we're going to generate revenue? Well, you can't go back and charge people from 10 years ago. And obviously it's $24. That's increased from fees because parking tickets are only $10. So that one of the Republican aldermen, Elizabeth Moreau, put me in contact and they made it go away. And the person was very happy about it. But that's insane.
I guess I can understand that you have more administrative time, right? I mean, my business it's not a problem, right? But we're suffering you have people working from home.
Yeah.
And when you're not in the office and you're used to being a customer-facing organization and all of a sudden your customers aren't able to come in, less people are bringing you their problems, so you have the time to kind of go search through and see what your problems are. And I guess if the city found all these outstanding fees...
I don't know. If you were a business, okay, you manage properties, would you go back 10 years and say, oh, by the way, you owe me a late charge?
I just don't.
You'd be like, that will make me look insane. That like, oh, by the way, in October of 2010, you were late on your rent. So there's a $25 fee that you owe me from 10 years ago. Of course you wouldn't. No business would do that.
And expect positive results.
Well, and even the statute of limitations, if this was a crime, would have already passed. It's just nuts. Government makes me nuts.
I can understand like that you found these inefficiencies in the past. It sounds like there's a list of very, what does it say?
Old.
Very aged citations.
Citations.
What else is very aged?
What else isn't getting done? Right? I don't know. It made me laugh. And I thought it would be something interesting. If anybody else has gotten parking tickets from like 10 years ago, by all means, email them to me. ManchTalk@gmail.com. I would love to share how many absurd...
Very aged citations.
Yeah. Another thing going on in the city is in November when we go to vote in the regular elections, so you'll be voting for president and your federal delegation and the governor and all the state house and executive council and all the county positions, all that stuff, everything except for city elections, basically. You'll also be voting on a charter amendment question. And before we get into the crux of the language of it, because it's kind of really,
it's a lot.
It's a lot, and I'm sorry, you couldn't pay me to vote for this. But what I find interesting is, because this is a state election year, state law does not allow a charter amendment to be placed on a state ballot. So technically, Manchester's having a special election on the same day with a different ballot that costs, this costs the city probably $25,000 to do.
And the thing is according to the law that was passed by Rapper Long, right, or passed by the State House, as presented by Pat Long.
Right.
We have to vote on it.
Well,
at this election.
But I don't think we do. So the law... that law that Pat Long put in that still don't know why nobody stopped it, was so poorly written, and it had a specific date in it. And one thing is, as much as you want to put a specific date so that it has to happen, it also means if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But the process in general for amending the charter can happen at any time. The aldermen can vote to propose an amendment to the charter to be placed on the ballot. So, from what I can figure, because I don't think anybody, maybe short of a few of the people actually on the Charter Commission. So what happened is Pat Long passed a law that had the intention of allowing this new school charter commission, not to be confused with the normal charter commission that's put in place every 10 years, would be able to amend the school charter, which doesn't exist. But they convened anyway, even though the election was bad because at least one person tried to sign up to run for the Charter Commission and wasn't allowed to because the timing in the bill made it impossible for people to actually file and actually appear on the ballot. It was an awful written bill. But they convene, we elect these school charter commission members. They convene, they spend all year talking about all these things they want to do. And we all know that the crux of this is taking control of the school budget ultimately away from the aldermen and giving it solely to the school committee so that they would implement a property tax for the schools, which wouldn't be covered under the tax cap, just because that applies to this over here. Yeah. So they tried to make all these changes. They sent them up to the state for approval. The attorney general or the whoever rejects it and says, no, this language is flawed. You can't do this. This doesn't work. That's not how this works. So then I think they revised the language and sent it again. And I'm pretty sure that just the state said, no, this doesn't work. So now they're like in a panic. Oh my God, we have to have this thing on the November ballot because the law we passed said it has to happen in November. So now they're just saying, we're going to approve, we'd like you to vote on something on how we go about changing the charter. But the alderman can do that anyways. The alderman at any time could say, we're going to vote to put this on the ballot. Yeah. So this charter commission and the law pertaining to it doesn't really matter because the alderman could do it anyways.
And it's cost the people of New Hampshire the amount of filing
Yep.
an LSR,
Yep.
right, which is approximately 3 to 4K a bill. So immediately cost the taxpayers that amount of money.
Now we've involved the Attorney General,
the election.
all these.
When we voted for the Charter Commission, it was an extra ballot.
Yeah, so that
we
cost
had
probably
to have,
10 grand.
Yeah, another 10K right there for the city of Manchester.
Yep.
So now New Hampshire, the city of Manchester. The case with the person that could not file to be on the commission cost the state money. And now
I'm sure it costs money to have all these commission
members
meetings because somebody's got to do the minutes and the agenda, so it costs that. And now it's going to cost like $20,000 to $25,000 to have this special election, which just basically means another ballot to do this amendment. Now, what's interesting to me, because I've forgotten when, because time flies when we're having so much fun here in the city of Manchester. So every 10 years, we elect a charter commission anyways. Every 10 years. We elected them in 2012, which means we will have a charter commission in 2 years anyways. What is so dire that we can't wait till 2012 to address? And
2022 to address?
2022, sorry. Right? It's already there. And then why are you trying to rush this language through now? At the meeting of the board of mayor and aldermen, even the city solicitor, whether he was right or wrong, but he's an attorney, was questioning whether this language did what they thought it did or if it did something else. Okay, when an attorney's saying, I think that's wrong, maybe the attorney's wrong. But if an attorney's wrong, then it's too confusing for...
But that means that somebody could bring suit to the city
and say
with the second interpretation.
Right. So...
opening us up for even more money to be spent.
So this is what the section of our charter currently says. I had to print it on... I love when I print things and it prints on 2 pages and you have to paste them together. Not less than once every 10 years, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen shall cause the question of charter revision to be considered by the voters under the provision of state law. Nothing in this provision shall limit the ability of the charter amendment process provided by law. So it says every 10 years we're going to do this. And that's probably good. Every 10 years we review the charter and see if anything needs to be changed. Now this is what it's going to say. If people vote for this in November, which I'm telling you, don't vote for this in November. Not less than once every 10 years, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen shall cause the question of charter revision to be considered by the voters under the provision of state law. Except as set forth below, nothing in this provision shall limit the availability of the charter amendment process provided by law. The local procedures used for amendment, revision, or replacement of the charter shall comply with procedural laws of the state pertaining to amendment, revision, or replacement of a city charter as set forth in RSA 49B, and no legislative approval shall be required to amend, revise, or replace those aspects of the charter pertaining to the school district, provided that the proposed charter amendment, revision, or replacement shall be consistent with the general laws of the state regarding school districts and shall not divest the district of the powers and duties afforded school districts under state law.
What does that mean?
I have no idea. I kind of know because I did so much work on the charter.
Read after that first paragraph?
Well, and the concerning part to me is if we're talking about amending the Manchester Charter to change the way we make charter amendments, why then does it include aspects of the charter pertaining to the school district? So we're going to change the process for amending our charter only for portions pertaining to schools. Tell me that doesn't just make the little spidey sense go, something's not right here.
Right. So the city charter can't change except every 10 years, but the school district, if this gets passed, could change at any time.
From what it seems, so we can change the charter. The reason I know something about the city charter is I was the organizer for this tax and spending cap, and that involved amending the charter, and that involved meeting requirements from the state. And there had been a couple attempts prior to when we actually did achieve it. And part of the problem was language that was rejected by the state. And we ended up, when we amended the charter for the tax cap originally, and when it was subsequently amended since, it's been in various city election years. It's not impossible to amend the charter. why now we're going to rush through, because I mean, this language just came out. I didn't even know if this was the real language. And here we are almost in October. We're 5 weeks before the election.
September 14th.
Right. This was from the 14th. But I mean, okay, so in less than 6 weeks, voters are supposed to have the time to figure out what this means and what the implications are. And I clearly remember when we first were, the tax cap that we were proposing in, I think it was 2008, when the alderman then refused to put it on the ballot. The big argument then was, you can't expect voters to understand what this means. And that was a bit ironic, because it was funny to hear aldermen say, we think the voters are too stupid to understand limiting spending. It was pretty clear we'd like to limit spending. But those same people, because Mike Lopez is on this charter commission, and he was one of the people who didn't think we should put the tax cap on so quickly, this somehow is clear and understandable to the average voter. So I'm sure in the next 4 weeks, I did ask Mike Porter if he would join us one week on the show to talk about the charter commission and the because he served, I believe, on the charter commission. Don't quote me on that, but he's also an alderman, so I don't know.
I don't think he's on the charter commission.
I don't know. I know. I think so, though, because I know. I don't know.
Quote me.
I can't. If I can't keep up, I don't imagine how you people at home are keeping up. So that'll be interesting. And like we're saying, only cost at least 20. Let's just be conservative. Let's say it costs us $20,000 plus the $3,000 or $4,000 plus it's got this stupid school charter commission nonsense has probably cost taxpayers easily $30,000.
And that's not including the lawsuit.
Right.
The state.
Right. It's nuts. This is not how government has checks and balances for a reason, whether we like them or not. There's ways to get things done, and you have to read the rules and figure out what the process is and make the language make sense. And I'm sorry, Pat Long dropped the ball all the way along. The initial bill that was presented, when I read it, I thought, what the heck? You can't do this. First of all, we don't even have a school charter. So making a process to amend something that doesn't exist, I don't know. So that's crazy. Definitely in the trenches of election season now. Signs are coming up. Signs are disappearing, which you had tons of signs disappear.
Yeah, we just had another round of signs go missing.
They just disappeared.
Just
the
gone.
wind. Poof, gone.
I don't dare put some signs on my lawn.
Right.
There's good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah.
I was at the Trump Victory HQ yesterday, and a man and his young daughter came in looking for replacement signs. They keep putting Trump Pence signs up there right by the Walmart, and they keep getting taken down. I heard another anecdote outside of the Tilton Walmart. There's a big 4x8 Trump Pence. And this isn't just Trump Pence, but those are the easy targets. Like my personal signs are going missing. But the Trump Pence, someone had cut out the names Trump and Pence from the sign. So I don't believe in vandalizing anyone's sign.
I agree.
Zero.
Even if there's something unless you stick a sign on my property, I'm not taking it down. Right. Now, if somebody randomly puts a sign on my lawn, I'm taking it down unless it's something I don't want there.
Very early in the season, my opponent, he was running in a contested primary, but his signs were broken like a week after he put them out, and I was like, this is not okay.
Right.
Like, I don't condone destroying anyone's signs, even an opponent.
I look at it. There's private property rights. There's free speech rights. If somebody wants to put up a sign for Joe Biden, well, more power to you. I'm not going to go and drive. We used to have a joke when Matt Swank was still living in Manchester. He had a hill on his property, and he'd put big signs everywhere. I mean, his whole lawn would be filled. And every year, inevitably, somebody would drive up the hill and over all the signs, literally drive over them, and that's how we would determine who would win. Whoever sign got driven over. Ginta's signs got driven over. Phil Grazzo's signs got driven over. He'd be like, hey, so-and-so's going to win. They drove over his sign.
Like, they climbed in my front garden. I have a picture of my garden on my campaign page. You can see it. It's New Hampshire wildflowers. It's not a nice, orderly garden. Like, if you go over my pipe line and into the sunflowers to take a sign.
Like, you got to get a life.
That's a lot.
I think it's a lot. I'm a little worried. I'm not really worried because, signs
And
are...
I'm a fiscal conservative, so somebody spent money on those signs.
That's what I say to people all the time. I mean, I'm heartbroken when people, like, supporters of ours will put out our signs, and then we go to pick them up after the election, and every year there's always one or two people who go, oh, I just threw it away. And I'm like, oh, my God, do you know that's like $6?
That's a lot of money.
Somebody
spent effort on that.
I look at, like, it'll be interesting in my yard. Right now I put my Sununu sign out, and it is in a flower garden. It's near the sidewalk, but it's definitely not, like, you can't reach it without coming up.
I got my Sununu sign yesterday.
If
you're looking for signs, go to this 377 South Willow Street, 9 to 5 at staff.
Yep. That's right where the DMV office is, by the way.
You can't miss it.
And then I have a Corky Messner sign that is more on the sidewalk. So far, so good. It hasn't disappeared. I think I'm going to put Dan and our signs. We have a wooden, like a farm fence, the split rail. So we put out 2x4s for ourselves. So I think I'll put those inside the lawn because I think you'll still be able to see them. But I think for other candidates, especially local candidates that don't have an endless supply of signs, I might just attach them to my fence so it's a little bit more difficult. And I'll tell you, if I catch you on my property messing with my signs, you're not going to be happy when you go home. It's just the reality. It's my property.
And booby trapping signs is 100% illegal in New Hampshire. So it's not even like, because everyone's like,
electrify them and put this out. And I'm like,
trap.
geez, I don't want to do that.
First off, don't do that.
Right.
Don't do that. And number two, like,
it's just really sad because I think part of the reason that signs are going missing and being damaged more this year than normal is because people seem to have lost their ability to have conversation that doesn't involve screaming or throwing rocks or whatever. Up at the State House, I'm going to be paraphrasing and I'm apologizing ahead of time if I get it wrong. But last week when the House met at UNH, I mean, the articles that come out after these things crack me up. So they're talking about the Republican state reps who opted not to wear a mask. First of all, why is there a section of UNH called the mask non-compliant zone? Come on. How about just call it, I don't know. Why call them names? Why are there different zones? And why did the Speaker's office choose to put names on them? Then the Speaker's office, because I'm sorry, you're the head, you're the manager of all of this. People were in these articles, they're complaining because there were Republican reps apparently outdoors at UNH without masks on. And everybody's like, well, doesn't everybody know that Durham has a mask mandate? And UNH, well, why would anybody know what Durham, unless you live in Durham? And why didn't the Speaker's office, when they put in the calendar that they're meeting, they didn't say, Durham has a mask mandate, UNH has a mask mandate. No, they said masks will be made available at the entrance, which implies inside of that is where you're asking people to wear the mask. So shame on the Speaker's office for not being able to communicate to the House appropriately. And then they're going after Gil, like, oh, these Republicans they're putting people's lives at risk. But they're over there. They're way over there. How are they risking anybody?
And they used a picture from June.
Yes,
session.
all the pictures were not from last week. They were from June. But then there were pictures of, I don't know, 8 state reps or whatever that took a knee. I'll be honest, I don't understand the take the knee. I no longer even know what it means.
I respect your First Amendment rights.
You can say and do whatever you want.
You can, absolutely.
But I don't get it. Like, I still don't even know sometimes when people are kneeling. I'm like, so are they for or against? Right. So Nicole Leapley is a Manchester rep, and I know that was the picture that appeared.
No, Nicole Knight.
Nicole Leapley is school committee. See, thank you.
Yep.
Nicole Klein Knight, who is a state rep, I believe, in Ward 4. She's one of the ones on her knee during the Pledge of Allegiance. Whatever. But then I read, and I was going to try to find it to read it back. Somebody posted that Rep Knight also was swearing at Glenn Cordelli and giving him the finger when he was doing some memorial speech up at the well. I'm like, what? First of all, Glenn Cordelli's an older guy. He's sweet as, this isn't a head-to-head. I'm going to get in Glenn Cordelli's face. And that's just not appropriate. You don't swear at people. You don't stand there and give them the finger. And then expect me to respect your actions.
So my opponent, Willis Griffith, took a knee.
He was also.
He did. And so my running mate, the Republican running mate in Ward 11, reached out to me and was like, can you believe this? And I was like, listen, I respect his First Amendment rights. And he's like, I could never represent the people of my district, the veterans, the you know, the
military
citizens,
citizens especially.
And he's like, you know, I respect that he has that right to free speech, but when you are there, when you take an oath to represent the people of New Hampshire, I guess if you're making that statement, it needs to be a statement.
But what's the statement even mean anymore? I don't even think anybody knows what the statement is. So I guess
if anybody
who know... Are they anti-America? Are they...
Anybody who know, I offer you the option, release a statement, tell the people that you represent what you meant. I think that would clear up a lot of these what-ifs. I don't feel any hostility towards you. Is it my choice? No.
Me neither.
But I'd like.
I don't get it, and I've seen it in other things, and it's this, and I'm like, I don't know. Is that a religious knee or a protest knee? Is it? I don't know. Honestly, it's one of these things. Maybe just because I don't pay up close attention to it. I don't know. It's just crazy. So that was, but it is interesting how the stories that come out. That bubble up.
I like that there was one, they were drinking beer. And
Nobody knows who's drinking beer.
No one knows who's drinking beer.
What the story that I did get, though, was that for some reason, maintenance was digging through trash cans and reporting back to the speaker's office if they found anything. And somebody said they had a Mountain Dew, a Diet Mountain Dew. And they came over and they were like, what do you have? And he's like, well, and they go, oh, it's just a Mountain Dew. And he said, well, no, actually, it's a Diet Mountain Dew. But that's beside the point. But it's just like, what the heck is going on? It's a mess. I'm glad that they're done. All of Governor Sununu's vetoes were upheld.
Sustained,
so good for them, because otherwise we'd have a bunch of crazy stuff passing. Yeah, we're almost out of time. See how fast that goes?
It was great.
This is so easy. So in the next couple of weeks, if there's anything in particular you have questions about the election, if you'd like more, information about the charter, I can try to get more information about that. But if there's a particular candidate that you'd like to hear from or whatever, you can email me and Carla at ManchTalk@gmail.com, and we'll do our best to see if we can get them on the show. But otherwise, every week, I think I'm going to try to make sure I get another Manchester state rep candidate on the show, because I think this is really, really a critical year for people to get out and vote.
I think it's important to know who you're voting for. We've seen it all across the state. That's one of the reasons why, if somebody's watching this, I call on you to make a statement on why did you do that? How are you representing the people in your district in the state of New Hampshire and taking these personal stances? I'm very interested in that. I'm not saying that facetiously, but I think it's important to know who you're voting for.
Yes. Take a moment to try to find out information.
Reach out, call people. My number's 260-312-1199. My email's bping03102. I'm running for Hillsborough 18. That's Manchester Ward 11.
So when Brittany gets elected in 11 with her running mate Brian Chicoine, and Dan and I get married. We get married on the State House. No,
let's do it.
No, let's not do that. When Dan and I get elected in Ward 10, we'll have some great West Side representation up there at the State House. It'll be tons of fun.
It'll be so much fun.
Tons and tons of fun. But that's all we got time for this week.
Thank you for your time.
Stay warm, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.